So this is a story from The Intercept. The GOP plan is the biggest tax increase in American history by far. The tax bill moving its way through Congress is routinely referred to as a $1.5 trillion tax cut. And in some ways that's true. On net, it would be reduce the amount of taxes collected by the federal treasury by about $1.5 trillion over 10 years. But the figure masks the eye-popping scale of the audacity of the GOP's rushed restructuring of the economy. Most immediately, the plan will take a large chunk out of the state and local revenue that isn't factored into the total. But more broadly, the bill cuts taxes by a full $6 trillion over a decade. So wait a minute. If it cuts $6 trillion, but at the same time they're only cutting $1.5 trillion, where's that other $4.5 trillion that come from? You. Your taxes will be increased. That's what they mean. This is the largest middle-class tax cut in American history. Intercept does a full breakdown. The Tax Policy Center estimates that about 80% of the benefits of the tax plan will go to the top 1%, who will enjoy the following elements of a tax cut. A full $1.5 trillion alone is going to slash the corporate tax rate. CEOs have said repeatedly they plan to pocket that money rather than invest it or give workers higher wages. But the wealth will trickle down, guys. The alternative minimum tax, paid almost exclusively by the rich, is also eliminated. That's a $700 billion giveaway. Another $150 billion goes to repealing the estate tax, which currently exempts the first $11 million of the deceased estate. So nobody even remotely middle class pays it. The repeal benefits so few people you can practically list them out. More than $200 billion in cuts goes to provisions that allow a greater deduction for dividends on foreign earnings. That's not for you. Roughly $600 billion goes to reducing taxes on pass-throughs and other businesses not set up as corporations, which law firms, lobby shops, and doctors' offices often benefit from. Poor and middle-class people do not tend to set themselves up as pass-throughs. And that's just a couple of them. It also goes through, there was about another $200 billion tax cut, a couple trillions, and another $5.3 billion. So where does that money come from? You know, and I told you this yesterday, but I still love this tweet to this day. I remember I saw a roaming millennial on Twitter say, "You don't pay for tax cuts, you just spend less." Give that girl a credit card. Actually, don't. For her own safety. And I think I saw Charles Kirk on Twitter. Just go, "Oh, why? What the GOP should do is it should eliminate some branches, you know, reduce these by 15%, something freedom." Which, by the way, the party of fiscal responsibility, no, just spend less first. Figure out what you're going to cut later. Never give Charles Kirk a credit card. To any banks watching this video, if Charles Kirk ever walks in and says, "I want a loan," say no immediately. It's a horrible investment. Okay, while Obamacare was transferred of wealth from the top to the bottom, this bill sends money back the other way. Even some of the ways the plan raises taxes on the rich wind up being a tax cut. Some $300 billion is raised by allowing companies who stash profits offshore to reparate it at a much lower tax. So right there, they're essentially going, "Oh, you committed tax invasion? You committed a crime? Just bring it back, we'll tax it less." The bill raises $1.6 trillion by repealing the personal exemption everybody gets on their tax returns. Getting rid of it across the board is extraordinarily regressive since it gives the same benefits to the likes of Jared Kushner as it gives to people who pay much less than he does, so they're hit much harder. Okay. This is just... It raises another $1.3 trillion by going after deductions for state and local taxes, mortgage interests, charitable contributions. I wonder if they're going to get rid of the tax deduction on political donations, by the way. And for that matter, You always hear right-wing pundits going, oh, why doesn't the left just do some charity? Well, now you can't really afford to. Interest on student loans, medical expenses, teachers' out-of-pocket expenses for paper and pencils for students, and a bunch of other nickel and diming of the middle class. Cut taxes on the rich, raise them for the poor. This is another good one. The plan gradually raises $128 billion in taxes by changing the way inflation is tabled, so that your taxes slowly creep up over the years as the bracket comes down. They're just denying economics at that point. And then, of course, the plan adds about $1.5 trillion to the debt over 10 years. So they did all of that. They couldn't even, let alone balance the budget, but they couldn't even get in the black. They couldn't even get in the green. They had, in terms of this bill, it still had more of a deficit. This is a tax increase on almost everybody. Oh my God. Oh my God. They passed it in the shadiest way possible. Now do you see why they passed it in such a shady way, where it's like, oh, we got 500 pages, you got 2 hours to read it. We literally X out parts and write provisions on the side in illegible writing. That's something they did. I'm just gonna say this right now. If Democrats run this, if they just run this like once ever, they will win. They'll get a majority back in about 10 seconds. I'm calling it. If they play this right and they look at the... I remember I predicted before that Republicans denying hurricane funding to Texas would be the death of the Republican Party. It seems like they just want to sit there and go, no, that won't be. This will be. And this better be, because, oh, God, this is a... I'm Ephrom, and good night.